You should play Path of Radiance.
You ever play 5 Nights at Freddy's?
Hey, you should play Psychonauts.
You should play Pizza Tower.
You a Banjo and Kazooie kind of guy?
Ooh, or try the Tasmanian Tiger.
In 1991, Nintendo and Argonaut Studios began to develop software capable of the illusion of 3D graphics for the Super Nintendo. They named it the Super FX.
How creative.
Nintendo's main goal for the Super FX chip was a game called Star Fox. I don't know, maybe you've heard of it. Anywho, before Star Fox, Nintendo wanted to experiment with 3D polygonal graphics. And that's how we got this. Stunt Race FX for the Super Nintendo, a racing game with 3D graphics on the SNES. While the main goal was to show off the 3D graphics, the team also wanted to focus on realistic car physics. The game has 4 modes: the Speed Track, the Stunt Track, the Battle Track, and the Free Trial. Starting right off the bat with the Speed Track. Upon opening, you're greeted with 3 available cars with a 4th unlockable one
That I didn't have the patience to deal with.
The Speed Track has 12 different races, all varying in theme, which is honestly more than I expected. And these would be a lot more fun if you weren't stuck with a stupid little timer the whole race. So the Speed Track is just your generic race mode where you race against 3 other computer racers, and it's kind of exactly what you expect, minus, as I said before, the timer. This game features an arcade-like structure where you only have a certain amount of time to complete each race, and you grab more seconds by hitting the checkpoints. The only problem with this is I found myself in first place and still running out of time.
If I'm in first, I shouldn't be getting disqualified for running out of time.
I found it extremely frustrating that I was constantly running out of time when I was again winning the race. Sure, it's kind of funny that if you run out of time and still manage to slide over the finish line, you can continue racing, but overall, honestly, the timer really ruins this mode for me. Battle Track has you pitted against a friend to play only 4 maps, but if you're desperate enough, you can put in a CPU. Be warned, even with a CPU as your player too, you somehow still get stuck with the tiny screen to race on. It does the job. That's it. Next up is Free Track. This one's pretty much all the same Speed Track maps without the CPUs or that awful timer. You can only use your unlocked maps though, so you have to do Speed Track to play these maps on your own time. This mode is nice because racing without computers makes the game run at a somewhat competent speed. On that note, frame rate is kind of an issue here, but keep in mind, the illusion of 3D graphics on a home console at the time was insane. I mean, how people probably felt about the graphics here is the same way we feel about games like Forza 6.
But nowadays, does it hold up?
It may not hold up graphically, but what they did with the technology present is still pretty cool. I think the cars' designs are very fun with their little eyes, it adds that Nintendo charm we love to see. And honestly, some of the racetracks are pretty fun. Is it a problem that you can't really see what's in front of you until it happens? Sure. Or the fact that it runs at a really low frame rate? Maybe. But it's one of those things that once you start playing, you actually get the hang of it. Getting good at this game is all gonna come down to figuring out the tracks, and that's not easy, because you have to boost the entire time to keep up with the clock. Which brings me to my next point. While racing, you have 2 bars you have to look out for, the boost bar and the damage bar. If you receive enough damage, you will die and it will end the game. It takes a lot of damage to die. It's just a fun little detail. Now, as for the boost, if you're not boosting the entire game, you're gonna get disqualified.
But don't worry, there's ways around it.
If you need more speed or have acquired too much damage, these little orb things on the maps are your solution. The blue ones fill your boost and the purple ones fix your damage. But enough of the Speed Track, let's move on to the Stunt Track. No, but in all seriousness, imagine going to the show and you watch the guy doing the stunts just give up and say, yeah, that's a little tedious, I'm just gonna go around. The other two modes don't really have a lot to add, but they're fun. Here's the thing though, I found this game incredibly charming. The characters are fun, the maps are honestly for the most part pretty good, and while it doesn't run all too well, you have to remember, it was a super early home console 3D game. It was amazing for its time. Running through this was honestly a very enjoyable time. A bit dated, sure, but I will eventually go back and play this one again. I had a good time.
And sure, I had a good time. It's definitely not the worst racing game out there, and you know me. I would 100% rather play that game than